You might not believe this, but there are 4 ways a woman speaks to a man reveals her entire sense of self-worth, long before she ever says she loves him. After 60, real love isn't about butterflies or chasing attention. It's about energy, the quiet, steady kind that comes from knowing who you are. High-value women don't talk to men to convince them of their worth. They talk like women who already know it. Their tone is calm, their words are few, and their silence carries more weight than any flattery ever could. When a man senses that, he either rises to meet her energy or quietly fades away, and that reaction tells her everything she needs to know. Hi, welcome back to Journey After 60. Today, we're diving into how high-value women talk to men, not to impress them, but to inspire respect. Because the way you communicate after 60 doesn't just shape your relationships, it defines your peace. Before we begin, take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel, Journey After 60, for more reflections on love, dignity, and confidence in your later years. Because the truth is, it's never too late to speak and love from a place of power. Now, let's begin with the very first way high-value women speak to men. It might seem simple at first, but it changes everything about how a man perceives you. Number 1, she listens without needing to win. By the time a woman reaches her 60s, she's learned that peace is far more valuable than being right. High-value women don't enter conversations to prove a point. They enter to understand. When she talks to a man, she doesn't interrupt, correct, or dominate the space. She listens fully, even when she disagrees, because she knows respect in communication builds deeper connection than any clever argument ever could. This kind of listening isn't weakness, it's quiet power. A woman who truly values herself doesn't feel threatened by another perspective. She can say, "I see your point," without losing her own. That calm acknowledgement makes a man feel safe to open up, to share without defense. And it's in that safety that real intimacy begins. Not the loud, fiery kind, but the steady, trusting kind that lasts. After 60, women who carry wisdom understand something most people never do. Love doesn't grow in the noise of trying to be right. It grows in the silence of being heard. When she listens with grace, she teaches him how to listen too. She sets the tone, and soon the entire conversation shifts from tension to tenderness, from ego to empathy. Men remember women who make them feel respected, even in disagreement, because that kind of communication doesn't bruise pride, it builds partnership. So when she speaks, she's not trying to win, she's trying to connect. And that, more than charm or beauty, is what makes her unforgettable. The next way a high-value woman speaks reveals even more. It's not about what she says, but how she says it, and the quiet strength behind her tone that makes a man listen differently. Would you like me to write that next part? Number 2, she chooses her words with intention. Some women speak to be heard, but high-value women, the ones who've lived, loved, and learned through decades, speak to be understood. At this stage of life, she's no longer careless with language. She's lived long enough to witness its power. She's seen how a single sentence can harden a man's heart or open it completely. That's why high-value women choose their words the way they choose their company, with thought, purpose, and grace. When she speaks to a man, she doesn't let emotions steer the moment. She pauses, breathes, and lets wisdom lead instead of impulse. Her tone carries calm authority. Her words land softly but leave weight. Because by 60, she understands how she speaks shapes how she's treated. And clarity, not volume, is what earns true respect. Instead of saying, "You never listen," she says, "I feel unheard." Instead of accusing, she invites understanding. And that shift from confronting to communication changes everything. Men, especially in later life, don't respond well to blame, but they do respond to respect. They soften when they sense maturity, not manipulation. This doesn't mean she swallows her truth or hides her feelings. Quite the opposite. It means she's mastered the art of expressing what she feels without wounding what she loves. She can disagree with dignity and still protect the peace in the room. And that balance is what separates emotional women from emotionally intelligent ones. When a man talks to a woman like this, he feels her strength, not in volume, but in presence. She's not afraid of silence, not desperate to have the last word, and not careless with what she says. Every sentence she speaks reflects a lifetime of self-awareness and restraint. Because after 60, the goal isn't to win an argument, it's to preserve respect. And a woman who knows how to speak with intention never loses that. If this part spoke to you, the reminder that words can either wound or heal, save this video. One day, when emotions run high, you'll want to revisit it and remember, calm words carry the power to protect love. So in the end, it's not just what she says, it's how she says it that reveals her strength. But respect in conversation doesn't mean being endlessly patient or agreeable. Because while her words may be gentle, her next move shows something far more powerful. She knows exactly where to draw the line. Number 3. She sets boundaries with grace. There comes a point in a woman's life when she finally understands the difference between keeping the peace and losing herself for it. After 60, she's done bending just to be understood. She's learned that love without limits turns into exhaustion, not intimacy. That's why high-value women speak differently. When she talks to a man, she doesn't raise her voice or harden her tone. She simply draws the line with quiet certainty, not to control him, but to protect her own peace. Boundaries at this stage aren't walls, they're doors with locks that open only to the right kind of energy. And when she enforces them calmly, without drama, she teaches him something most people never learn, that respect isn't negotiable. One evening, it was raining, and we were sitting in the car after a long dinner. A small disagreement had turned into silence. I was frustrated, ready to defend my point, to prove I was right. But instead of matching my energy, she looked at me calmly and said, "I'm not angry. I just don't want us to talk to each other like this. Let's take a moment and come back when we can speak with care." That stopped me cold. Not because she surrendered, but because she didn't fight. Her tone carried maturity, not pride. In that moment, I realized she wasn't trying to win. She was trying to preserve something worth keeping. The tension dissolved almost immediately. I found myself softening, listening, wanting to meet her halfway. In her younger years, she may have tolerated neglect, excuses, or emotional games just to keep the connection alive. But now, she values serenity over company. She doesn't argue to be seen, and she doesn't plead to be loved. She knows that walking away from disrespect is not loss, it's wisdom. That's what grace looks like in communication. It doesn't demand, it disarms. And a man, no matter his age, always feels the difference between a woman who argues to be right and one who speaks to protect love. A man who values her will rise to meet her standards. The one who doesn't will quietly drift away. Either way, she wins, because she's no longer measuring her worth by how much she gives, but by how she's treated in return. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to set a boundary with grace instead of anger? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be the reminder another woman needs to protect her peace too. And this leads to something even deeper. Beyond setting boundaries, she knows how to create warmth. Because while strength earns respect, it's her grace that keeps love alive. Number 4, she respects his opinion, even when she disagrees. There's a quiet wisdom that comes with time, the kind that teaches you not every difference needs to become a disagreement. After decades of conversations, misunderstandings, and compromises, she's learned that love isn't about thinking alike. It's about listening with respect. From what I've learned through years of studying communication and relationships and later life, this approach isn't just emotional wisdom, it's backed by real data. In a 2023 study by the American Institute on Aging and Relationships, 72% of couples over 60 reported that mutual respect during disagreements was the single most important factor in maintaining long-term harmony. So, when she talks to a man now, she brings that calm understanding into every exchange. She's not waiting for her turn to talk or preparing her defense while he speaks. She listens, not to reply, but to truly see the world through his eyes. And when opinions differ, she doesn't shut down or belittle. She simply takes a breath and says, "I may not see it that way, but I get why you do." That small act of respect carries more power than any raised voice could. Because at this age, she's no longer trying to win an argument. She's trying to keep the connection human. When she speaks, her calm becomes contagious. A man who might have been ready to argue finds himself listening instead. Her steadiness commands more attention than any shouting ever could. And he realizes, this is not a woman ruled by emotion, but guided by wisdom. That's what defines high-value communication after 60. She doesn't speak to win the moment. She speaks to protect the bond. Because the goal isn't to silence emotion, but to give it dignity. And now, we've arrived at the part where everything comes together. The heart of what I've been leading you toward. So now, let's bring it all together. The essence of what makes love after 60 not just possible, but profoundly peaceful. After walking through these 4 ways high-value women communicate, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. Love after 60 isn't about learning new tricks. It's about unlearning old patterns. It's about speaking with grace instead of pride, listening with empathy instead of defense, setting boundaries without bitterness, and respecting a man's opinion without losing your own voice. Because at this stage of life, communication isn't just about words, it's about energy. The energy of calm, of wisdom, of knowing who you are. And when a woman speaks from that place, her very presence becomes her message. She doesn't demand love, she inspires it. She doesn't fight to be heard. She creates peace in the room simply by being herself. As the philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." And perhaps that's the real secret. The most magnetic women in their 60s aren't the loudest. They're the most grounded. So, if this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Journey After 60, and share it with another woman who's learning to speak and love from her highest self. Because after all these years, you've earned the right not just to be heard, but to be understood. Thanks for watching my video till now, and see you next time.